You know what I wanted to ask you? And obviously he was doing a little bit better. Good result against Brighton in the Cup. Do you think that's the best performance from Mo Salah for not far off 12 months? That's what it feels like to me. Obviously he scored, he got assists at different times, and last season was a great season, but the back end of it, he probably dropped off a little bit as well. Was that the best performance from Mo Salah?
I think mentally he looked like Mo Salah, you know what I mean? Like the way he wins that penalty where he's using his strength, he's determined, he's not sort of throwing his arms up in the world, in the air. And also in the game as well, I thought a few times he was like testing his own pace, he looked more prepared to take players on, whereas more recently I thought he's been doing all right, but he's not really looked a goal threat. He's been concentrating on maybe teeing up other players a bit more and, you know, almost doing what you suspect was why he maybe fell out with the manager at that point. So he's been tracking back, he's been getting involved in duels, he's been doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah, at the weekend I thought there was a bit more of the old Mo Salah there. There's still times, don't get me wrong, in this run since he's come back from AFCON where he hasn't been the old Mo Salah, and there's been times he's been done for pace and things like that. I mean, you can see he's starting to get on a little bit, and that maybe his powers are slightly on the wane. But yeah, it was his best contribution in recent times. I think that's fair.
What does a successful season look like now for Liverpool?
Definitely getting Champions League football, isn't it? But we're still in the FA Cup. We still wait and see who we get in the FA Cup. Wait and see who we get in the Champions League. Wouldn't rule us out for either, because why not? Because I think English teams are doing really well in the Champions League. There seems to be a pretty big gulf between, you know, us and the rest of Europe, really, in terms of standard. And we've had some good results in Europe already. We beat Real Madrid at home, went to Inter and got a result. So maybe we're more suited to Europe. And then you've got the Liverpool factor where, you know, once it gets going and, you know, big nights at Anfield and all that, you sort of never rule that out. And the FA Cup, we're obviously taking that seriously this season. Last season when we were going for the title, I think he just threw his hat in a little bit and was like, it gets in the way, so I'm playing that team. We're out, no one's asked, we're going for the title. This year, you know, he's played a very strong team at home to Brighton there. We've moved on, and I think we'll take that seriously. But I kind of feel like it's a bit of an audition for him now, for the manager to get another contract. There's 12 games left in the league. I think the next 6 are all sides outside of the top 8. So on paper, you'd say Liverpool should be beating those sides, but they're the sides we've been struggling against, and they're the sides that have had people pissed off in terms of how we've performed. I went to Sunderland the other night, and I really enjoyed that one. I came back, you know, and as ever, you look on social media and you're like, oh, that's not what I saw. Because I really enjoyed the battle of it. I enjoyed the fight. I enjoyed seeing Canate play really, really well. I think he's done really well recently. He's looked like the defender we know he can be. And Liverpool are starting to look like a side where it's harder to score against them again now, which was the problem. And plus we're scoring goals as well. I wouldn't be doing no, you know, we're back or any of that. You know, Bournemouth, obviously City as well, you know, shows that we can still be beaten. But I feel like we're moving towards a bit more of an identity again now, and something you can get behind.
You mentioned the games Liverpool have got coming. I've got the last 4 games here in May. Oh, God. Man United, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Brentford.
That's why I said the next 6.
Yeah. So they must be Liverpool's last 4 games of the season. If Slot does miss out, or the club miss out on Champions League, do you think it's either he gets in the Champions League and he stays, or he misses out on what would probably be the top 5? If he misses out on that,
I think there's a big question at that point, because you know, I think the very fact that he signed a 3-year contract, didn't he? And there's been no talk of renewal, and in fact, there's been talk of quite the opposite of him getting sacked, obviously. I think he's obviously got through that. There's been lots of PR pieces in newspapers and even a PR sort of round table interview with Richard Hughes, etc. involved. And so they've made it clear they're backing him for now. And they made it clear they're behind him and there's a plan for the future. And like we said before, though, football's a lie. You know, if Liverpool go on another string of defeats, they don't make top 5, they're going to be looking at it. You've got sort of Xabi Alonso lurking in the distance. I'm not entirely sold on that, by the way, as a thing. I think lots of the complaints I hear from fellow Reds are about style of football. I don't think Xabi's is that exciting either, to be honest with you. And plus, Slot's got the better of him twice already. So, and, you know, allegedly, or however you want to put it, but he was maybe sounded out, wasn't he, when Slot got it and didn't want it. So there's lots I don't think that's a shoe-in that some people think it is. So we'll see. But yeah, like I say, I feel like it's an audition for him the rest of the season. How does it go? And you know, to me fellow fans, if you like, I just like us all to get behind him now. Get behind him, get behind the team, see where we can go. I think there's been little signs that the support's coming alight again. I thought the Newcastle game at home, Anfield felt like Anfield that night. That is a power, that is a thing, that is something we can use. And, you know, online or offline, I think we just back the Reds now, back the team, back the manager, see if we can win a cup. And look, if he doesn't do it, he doesn't do it, and he'll probably go in the summer. But if he does do it, great, we'll probably see a trophy with red ribbons on it.
How do you see the Liverpool situation was with the manager?
No, listen, it's strange, isn't it, when you're talking about he's on an audition to keep his job when he's obviously recently just won the Premier League. It's strange for me. And I've met him a few times. He was a nice fella, but I just don't think for Liverpool he's got that aura about it. And maybe this is because you've just come off the back of Jurgen Klopp, and it's going to be difficult for anyone to have that. But I just don't think there's that aura about him. And I've worked with Dutch managers, and I know they can be difficult at times. But I think if they don't make top five, I think he'll be gone for sure. Which is crazy to say that. He's just won the Premier League. It's interesting now, isn't it? Because obviously you get judged on your results, of course you can, but he'd be such a better manager as well, wouldn't he, next season? On the back of this season in some ways as well. That's what I keep thinking, you know, because I don't think it's all his fault. Or I think any manager now managing this squad, with Salah not being the same player as last season, Van Dijk's not quite the same player as last season as well. The squad's not that big, it's not that well balanced. I'm not sure there would be a manager out there getting loads more out of it, if I'm being totally honest. But then you look at the players, look at Liverpool last season to now, you've just mentioned there, I think Salah and Van Dijk haven't been at the best. Then you've got Trent who's missing, Robinson hasn't played a lot of games, Luis Diaz, obviously the Jota situation, even Núñez brought something. I know he went great, but he brought something to the team. So Liverpool have lost a lot of players, so there is a sort of rebuild. So do you think there should be a bit more understanding then? I think so, but I do get the fact, and obviously speak to a lot of Liverpool fans, the fact that Slot has just not quite got that connection, which I feel could be pivotal. The
signings, I think, are decent as well. I think all of them will be decent players for Liverpool. I mean, you know, I went earlier, I think, on Carragher than a lot of Liverpool fans who were weren't sure about him. But now he seems to have won most people round, and you could probably say that was his best game at the weekend just gone. We're obviously seeing, you know, more from Wirtz now. Ekitike's got 15 goals. You know, got Isak to come back as well, and that kind of thing. So I think you're right. There's loads for him to work with if he can hang on. But it may well be that it's someone else. I think, and he's right there in terms of an audition. I think that's the way Liverpool supporters sort of see it. Maybe that might be different behind the scenes, but I think you've got to have this feeling that you're going into next season with a buzz, not a, definitely. You know. And I think if the new signings keep looking like your best players, which I think probably in the last sort of, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, Ekitike, Wirtz, Carragher, if they start becoming like your best players, then you think, okay, we're building it. It's getting built around them for next season. That's what, for me, I still think he'll be Liverpool's manager next season.
Yeah, not to make this all tribal, right? But one of the things that you have to bring into these debates when people compare Salah and Van Dijk with the greats is they've not defended a title again. Isn't that part of being a great player? Like when Van Dijk gets brought into these debates,
so was Thierry Henry defended?
I use that against him. Like when we talk about it, that's why for me Wayne Rooney is the greatest Premier League player ever. But surely it has to be brought into the debates here.
Because they didn't retain.
You have to retain the Premier League title if you want to be a great.
No, but I just think with Liverpool, what's happened from last season, and I do think Van Dijk and Salah, which I've been vocal on this season about, have maybe lost the yard, the two of them. And then the players they've lost around them, for any, and they're probably the two leaders in the team. For any team to lose them players, it's going to be very difficult for them to win the title. and you throw in the fact that they both probably lost the yard, so I don't think that should go against them two. For me, them two, certainly Salah is one of the best of all time in the Premier League, and Van Dijk will be challenging to be one of the best. I don't think he's the best, but in this generation now, he's the best centre-back which the Premier League has seen, so I don't think you can hold that against them two.
Yeah, the level of flux is mad when you look back at it, and it goes back to conversations earlier about sport and directors and things like that. It isn't on a slot, all the ins and outs in one summer. That's above them, where they're saying, okay, that's the right money to take for Diaz now. I think the manager, the head coach, as much as he can, because he's never going to come out outright and say it, but I think he's hinted at loads that he didn't want Diaz to go. I think we can draw the dots on that one. So that wasn't his decision, and then he wasn't replaced. And all he's got there is Inga Mauer, who's a teenage kid who looks good, and I think will be a good player, but is obviously raw. He should be knocking around doing his A-levels. You can't expect him to win Premier League games every week, do you know what I mean? So there's no comparison between what he is and what Diaz was. And you get sold these daft lines sometimes like, oh yeah, we're not signing anyone in that position because it's a pathway for Inga Mauer. Like, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, Liverpool are crying out for more on the wings. They're crying out for someone who can take you up the pitch like Diaz did. So I agree with what Jamie said before. I think even a manager being parachuted in now wouldn't be able to do a whole lot different with this squad. I mean, even all the arguments about like right back and all that, I don't get some of them online. Calvin Ramsey and all that. It's like, look at what he's done in his career. There's nothing there that screams he should be playing Premier League football week in, week out. So why is that being used as something to hit the manager with? Some people just want to hit the manager with anything right now, I think, is where we've ended up.
Well, in the summer, there was a lot of talk of this is the greatest window of all time. Florian Wirtz is this. Obviously, we know how good Alexander Isak is, and granted, he's been injured recently, but to hear talk about the squad when you invested so heavily in some fantastic
we sold
players,
though, so didn't we?
Clearly, it's not all about just spending money though, which is what we've been told for years. Do you know what I mean? That's
legally.
Well, Jamie, we'll write to you, the lawyers, mate.
What's happening with that? Are we going to hear about that, or is
Roger's going to shit himself now.
Who am I? Who am I? How am I supposed to know?
Turned into Beanie Man all of a sudden. Who am I?